Don't buy a lightsaber without asking yourself these 4 questions. So let's dive right into it, you guys. Question number 1. Do I really want a lightsaber? Okay, that sounds like a very simple question, and yet lightsabers aren't the type of thing that you just want to get as an impulse buy. The only maybe possible exception to that is some of the extremely low-end ones, that you just expect to get sort of a burst of enjoyment out of, maybe something that's a few dollars, that type of thing. It's kind of throwaway, just very inexpensive. So maybe those you could get as an impulse buy, but, you go much higher up the chain in value, you really don't want to be getting these things on impulse, because a lot of custom sabers and officially licensed lightsabers, well, the custom ones, really tend to start at about $100 or so for some of the cheap ones, and maybe even a little bit lower. And then the officially licensed ones are typically a few $100s at least. And then like many things, you can always pay more, okay? And that's just a lot of money to throw around, right? So we don't want to be rushing into that without really considering it. And we don't want to be rushing into that just because something looks really cool, right? Like, oh, it's a shiny object, I must buy that immediately, okay? So first thing, just stop yourself in your excitement and be like, okay, do I really want one? And once you get past that question, that actually leads very well into question number 2, and that is, have I done my research? So once you get past that first question of do I really want one, then you got to roll up your sleeves and do a little bit of digging. Now, custom sabers, lightsabers, there's actually a lot of complexity, in the entire market. A surprising amount, especially when you first get into it. You have officially licensed lightsabers, and you have custom lightsabers. You have kind of toys, lightsaber toys made of plastic. You have higher end pieces made of metal, and there's all sorts of variations. I mean, particularly when people are just getting into the hobby, there's all these terms like, neopixel or pixel sabers and in-hilt LEDs, and you're kind of like, what do all these things mean? Now, you don't have to figure out every single detail when you get your first lightsaber. However, you need to know some of the overall details and, look at some of the buy-in guides, some of the kind of first saber recommendations that are out there, and make your purchasing decision that way. And you also need to do your research on the specific company. So one of the biggest things you can do is research the company, that you're starting to look at, and make sure there's some content about them, right? So if you type in company XYZ and there's nothing on Google about that company, or the only content is coming from the company itself, that's a big red flag. Now, it's possible that company is brand new, but it's also possible that, they're just kind of a fly-by-night company, and that they may end up misleading you or scamming you. So you really want to see if there's reviews or different kind of opinions about companies. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody will necessarily universally love a company, although it does seem like there's a few companies that are like that, just about anyway. But you do need to just kind of see some honest reviews from people and see what people are saying to get kind of a good idea about what you're getting yourself into, especially given that you're probably spending at least $100 or so, if not a little bit more. So, learn some of the basic technology and terminology, and then, maybe get a starter saber from a reputable company. So that's the second question to ask is, have I done my research? Now, the third question to ask, this makes people uncomfortable, but you really need to ask yourself, can I pay cash? And now by that, I mean, okay, you can pay by credit card or by PayPal, that type of thing, but can you pay off the balance? Because, lightsabers, like anything, you really don't want to be financing them, especially since they're something for fun. So lightsaber is not an essential item. A lightsaber is for fun and for amusement and for enjoyment. So you don't want to sacrifice a piece of your future self to, for the impulse of buying a lightsaber today. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't buy a good lightsaber, you guys. It just means that save up the money so that you can afford it that specific moment that you click the buy button. And that's just generally a good rule of thumb for life, right? Because when you buy something and you finance it, whether it's with your credit card or sometimes there's other financing options, those interest rates are terrible, okay? Like, they're probably going to be at least 10% interest or so. You don't want to be financing a lightsaber just like you don't want to be financing most things, particularly with, these super high interest rates that are out there. So I know it kind of sucks, but it's just, that's the reality of it. And some of the alternatives also, if you can't afford it, see what you can do creatively, okay? Now, there's all sorts of people that have made these DIY sabers. They'll make like a hardware store lightsaber hilt, which is really cool, or just some kind of found parts lightsaber. Those things are so awesome, you guys. I always love seeing them. And there's other people, they can make a lightsaber out of, PVC, out of paper, out of cardboard. Just use your imagination. Be creative, okay? And, that's just, what was it? Creativity or necessity is the, why can't I think of this phrase, you guys? Necessity is the mother of invention, right? Okay, that's what I was trying to say. I don't know why it wasn't coming to me, but at any rate, so, if you can't afford one, either save up money, wait until you can afford one, or get creative, get those creative juices flowing and, get your own lightsaber that way. All right. Okay. All right. And the last thing, you guys, is another strange question to ask yourself, maybe. Do I have too many lightsabers? Okay, like this is the question you'd ask after you already have one. Do I really need two? Do I really need five? So it's really, I guess, it's looping around to that first question again. Do I really want one or do I really need one? And it's very easy for a lightsaber collection to grow. And at what point do you have too many? That is extremely subjective. At what point are you hoarding lightsabers versus collecting lightsabers? I don't really have an answer for that. I know for myself, I have sort of a rotating collection, okay? So I don't keep all of the lightsabers at once. I obviously have the ones that are in this video and a few more, but out of the lightsabers I've reviewed over the years, I don't have all of those at this exact moment in time. And if I did, I think I would actually be quite overwhelmed because it's too many, you guys. And one of the nice things too about if you do end up having sort of a rotating collection, and it means that you're not going to have too many. It also means that if you're able to sell a lightsaber secondhand, that can end up funding your next purchase. And so that's how you can potentially get a lot of exposure, just kind of a lot of experience with different lightsabers. You can kind of see which types you like, that type of thing over time. And, you just get a little more variety that way too. Or, maybe you really just need one lightsaber from the start. If you want to use it for spinning and that type of thing, you might really just need one or one that's from your favorite character, that type of thing as well. So you don't have to have more than one, you guys. You can have just one, you can have just a few, and that's great. And also don't be intimidated by people that have large collections, okay? There are some people that have very large collections and they are very cool. But you don't need to feel like you have to catch up or keep up with the Joneses there. Just have one, just have a few, have a rotating collection. You do you, basically. All right. So anyway, these are the 4 questions to ask yourself. So don't buy a lightsaber, rather, without asking yourself these 4 questions. Now, have I missed anything? Feel free to comment below.